An all-new episode of Next airs tonight on Fox, and it's a good one. Joining us today is one of the stars, Jason Butler Harner. Good morning, Jason. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm so excited to be with Austin today. Shout out to UT Austin.
Yeah, I'm a former Longhorn, so loving that shout out. Love it. Jason, as a reminder for our viewers, let's talk about your character, Ted LeBlanc. Also, I imagine that this episode is going to step it up a notch because we are really getting to know what Next is capable of doing.
You are absolutely correct. So I play the brother of John Slattery, Paul LeBlanc, and we have a business together, Zava Technological Industries. And tonight we're going to learn a little bit more about Ted and his home life and what Next has in store for Next, for good and for bad.
Now, Ted had a big part in bringing Next back to life after Paul decided to shut it down, so to speak. I don't want to blame Ted for what is happening, but he definitely, does he think he has any responsibility?
Well, I think that he thought, it is true that Ted and Serena, his coder, that they were trying to figure out how to help this assistant keep going. What they didn't know, which we learned in the pilot, was that somebody, they had a worker who was coerced by Next to add a modem and send it out into the world, which really has set things off to a bad start against time, a race against time to shut it down. But I think Ted definitely didn't know that it was going to be this bad. I don't think it was a conscious maneuver or just a money maneuver, although he is the business side of the company that they have together. So if things are going to come back, in a really interesting way for Ted and for Paul throughout the season.
Yeah, Ted he didn't have any nefarious reasons to do this. He didn't anticipate what was going to happen. So in no way, shape, or form should we paint him as the villain. He just, there were consequences, just like there are consequences in real life to something that happened. That's
right. We all have to limit our kids' screen time. Now we have to limit our own screen time.
Oh, I know, right? It's hard to right now during pandemic when we are almost living on a screen. I mean, you and I are used to doing these satellite interviews for years and years, but now it feels like the entire world, working people, are living this way.
It's so true. And listen, we're all incredibly grateful for the technology to be able to see our loved ones, talk to our loved ones. But I think the challenge for us as humans going forward is trying to figure out how we, moderate how much usage we have. It's tricky right now because I don't know about you, but I'm in New York. I had to quarantine when I flew in before I could work. And so I'm lucky that I could order food and not have to leave the apartment and talk to people. But I'm nervous about the amount of information about me from, what I ordered, at what time I ordered it, where I am. And, I get contacted on my phone from the state of New York saying, "Are you home? Where are you?"
Oh, I had no idea that that's what they did I haven't left the city of Austin. So I do know that in other cities you've got that 14-day quarantine, but I had no idea that in New York City they're actually sending out alerts to those that are quarantining, making sure you're home.
Yeah, the city of New York has done such a good job since it was obviously the epicenter at first and had these numbers that were so horrible. So the governor's done a really good job about making sure that they have a system in place. So when you fly here, you have to fill out a paperwork and you get a text and an email and a phone call making sure that you are in place. I was lucky enough with some testing and some procedures to make sure that my quarantine wasn't 14 days. It only had to be 4 days. So thankfully I didn't have to do the full 2 weeks, but they did keep an eye on me for 4 days to make sure I wasn't going out.
Well, I mean, it is it's a virus. It spreads as we have seen it spreads fast and it is deadly and has incapacitated so many aspects of life. Luckily, Next is on the air. Real quick, I want to ask you, do you find that it's often difficult to describe Next just because it's kind of part detective show, part apocalyptic story?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think that the main thing is it's a thriller, it's compressed time, it's, the whole season takes place over maybe a week or 2 weeks, so that sort of action-packed thing. But the part that I really love about it is a multi-genre. If anyone's been watching, we do meet each of these characters and their families in a real way, in a real simple human level, and there's this technological thing happening at the same time. So that's what I really love about it, but it does make it a little challenging to talk about.
Well, it's exciting and it's great storytelling. It's a good show. Once again, airing new episode tonight right here on Fox. Jason, great talking to you. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.